One Punch Man, Webcomic, Chapter 115. Holy crap! This was a fantastic chapter. It is everything I needed, and then even some more stuff. So much to talk about, so let's get into it. So we're finally getting the backstory on this ninja village, and I think the first time we heard about it was from Hellfire and Gale in like Chapter 77 or somewhere around there, so it's been a while. But it is much worse than I expected, and it's much different than what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like a literal village, but it's not that. It's kind of like the Kurohitsugi that Aizen uses, the Hado 90. You know, it's just a black box. Pretty cool, but, you know, much different. It's more like a facility. It kind of reminds me of the place that we saw Tatsumaki in the Blast flashback, and we're going to be talking about that again later on. But this place is brutal, and it totally makes sense why Flashy Flash and Sonic are the way they are. And if anything, they made it out pretty good considering the circumstances revolving around this thing. So the days are 3 days long, with only 6 hours of sleep. That is insane. Like, it would pretty much kill anyone after a little bit in our reality if they were to go through that. And on top of that, they have no information to the outside world. They have to eat flavorless food, and they're not even allowed to have emotions. Like, this is pure insanity. So we're also finding out that Flashy Flash's parents just sold him to this place when he was 5, so this is an awful origin for Flashy Flash, but even more awful for Sonic, who was born in this place. He didn't even have a life outside of it. He didn't even know what the outside world was like. He was just born and raised here, but somehow was able to keep his humanity, so good on Sonic, and we'll get more into that later. But we're also seeing that Flashy Flash, as we expected, is pretty much a prodigy. Like, yes, he did train very hard, but he was naturally good, and he even pushed himself more, and I love this aspect. I like the fact that Flashy Flash purposely lagged behind just so his training was more intense, just so he can grow more from it. But this is actually how he's able to meet Sonic, because Sonic was at the bottom of the class, so naturally the two lowest C's are going to meet each other. But we see that Sonic is pretty friendly in his youth. Like, he willingly talks to Flashy Flash and even gives him help with nothing in return. Which is odd because, you know, how different Sonic is now, and also considering that he was born in this friggin' place. But then, of course, he gives us an explanation as to how he doesn't lose his humanity through all of this. It's because he just has a strong heart, and he didn't let them break him. He also has a dream, or at least he had a dream, and I like this. I really like how they're fleshing out Sonic and Flashy Flash here, but more so Sonic, who really has a sad backstory. Like, I feel bad for the guy. I mean, I've always liked him, and I'm sure everyone else, or most of us, did, but it's nice to flesh him out, like I said. And I really do hope that by the end of this series, Sonic has like a redemption to him, which I do think is going to happen, because I really do think one likes this character. He's putting a lot of time and care into him. But the dream that he has is that he wanted to break down this organization and build it anew, I guess, for orphans like him to grow up more freely. And that's essentially what Sonic wants. Aside from rebuilding this organization, he wants to just live freely and have the power to do so. So, like I said, it's nice that we're getting this, because it humanizes a character who was somewhat unrelatable before this, you know, because he's so neurotic and crazy, the way that he sees Saitama and whatnot. So then we come to the part of this backstory that we already knew, that Hellfire and Gale told us about when they were talking to Flashy Flash about how he killed everyone in the 44th class, and we're seeing why he did it, because pretty much everyone was a scumbag and they needed to die, more or less. I'm not so sure about his classmates and whatnot, but maybe they truly became machines and robots like what they intended, and then maybe they were beyond saving. So I guess when Flashy Flash became strong enough to actually take everyone out, he was only 16. So like I said, this guy's a prodigy, he's insane, but we're also seeing his scars and whatnot, and we're finding out, of course, that he has these scars from all the punishments that he received from trying to leave this place. And these scars, I think the first time we actually saw them was in the 6th OVA, the murder mystery one with Tatsumaki and Zombie Man, when they're at the hot spring. Flashy Flash has his shirt off and he has all these scars over his body, and we always assume, oh, this is just from his training, but it's actually from punishment, so that's pretty interesting. So now we're also finding out the big lingering question on top of all of this is that how Sonic was able to get away from this. Why didn't Flashy Flash kill Sonic? Well, it's because Flashy Flash didn't want to. He purposely poisoned him so that he was absent that day and had an excuse as to why he wouldn't be there. And also, if some people are wondering, like, did he want to kill Sonic with this poison? No, he didn't. Because before this, Sonic, like, asks him. He's like, Flash, I get you, that look in your eyes. We don't have the power yet, but will you help me achieve it? He is asking Sonic, Sonic is asking Flashy Flash to help him, and before this, Sonic willingly helped Flashy Flash without anything in return. So this is finally Sonic asking for something from Flashy Flash after he had given him so much. So this is the least that Flashy Flash can do. He's essentially sparing his life and allowing him to live freely, which is what he always wanted. So after all of this, Flashy Flash eventually finds out about the existence of the Hero Association, and as far as we know, Flashy Flash is 25 years old right now, so after he left the Ninja Village, he was 16, so in these 9 years or so, I guess he was just aimlessly going around. Maybe he had some odd jobs similar to how Sonic did, and then he eventually found the Hero Association, and then within the last 2 years of the current story, he had joined them, because that's how long they have existed, pretty much, or the last 3 years, 2 or 3 years, something like that. But along the way, Sonic lost his path somehow and became the Sonic that we know today. It's possible that he just wasn't able to adjust to society the way that Flashy Flash did, because, you know, Flashy Flash was born in society. He wasn't more or less, I guess you could say, feral, you know, kind of like how Sonic, not exactly, but, you know, ninja feral, I guess you can say. So Sonic just didn't adjust to society. He didn't become a hero like Flashy Flash. He became the opposite, but still maintained his humanity, you know, because if he was completely evil, I'm sure he would have became a monster by now. So then it cuts to Sonic, and we see that he is encountered by the Heavenly Ninja Party, and wow, is this a gigantic revelation and a massive addition to this story. This whole just few pages right here is expanding the world of One Punch Man in such a great way, and I am so happy that this is happening. So first of all, Hellfire and Gale are now in the webcomic, and if anyone is just confused, or let me try to clear this up for you. Okay, so Hellfire and Gale aren't originally in the webcomic. I guess Hellfire and Gale, like their actual names, are just the Hot Rod brothers. They're just like robotic dudes who Flashy Flash takes care of in the Monster Association, in the webcomic continuity. However, we see them actually in the manga. That's the first time that we see them. So now that we see that this is the first introduction of them in the webcomic, and if anyone is curious, like, is this going to line up with where the webcomic is headed? Well, where the manga is headed? Well, it definitely is now. Because in the manga, Hellfire and Gale came back to life in Chapter 100 after they were killed originally by Flashy Flash in Chapter 96. But then after the events of the King Awakening Light, the Edo Tensei that Phoenix Man was capable of doing, he brought back Hellfire and Gale in their zombie monster forms. But then the electrical charge, I forget what it's called, the big electrical thing that Child Emperor did from Brave Giant, that surge like brought them back to life Frankenstein style, but it also made them non-zombies. They just came back to life normal. So whatever supernatural powers that Phoenix Man had, in combination with the electrical impulse surge thing that Child Emperor did, is just the key to resurrection. So they're back now, and if anyone was curious, like, okay, so what's going to happen with Hellfire and Gale in the Monster Association? Are they going to make it out of that arc, and then what's their purpose after that? We're finding out now. It's all going to tie together now. But interestingly enough, we're being introduced to a third member of the 37th class. The 37th class is where Hellfire and Gale come from. It's the same class that they come from in the manga as well. And his name is Thunderous Thunder. So this is interesting. Not sure what's going to go on with him, but there's probably significance as to why one wants her to be a third member of this group. And hey, I'm on board with it. But aside from that, we're seeing that there's, you know, dozens of other ninjas with them. There's like sometimes there's a pair or there's just a single one from the other classes throughout the history of the Ninja Village. It goes all the way back to the 5th class when we see that guy Frozen Freeze. And I'm assuming that would make him in his like 60s. So it's also revealed why all of these guys are coming together. And it's because the strongest ninja in history has finally awakened. And this is amazing. I got so excited when I read this. But then it just took me to another level when we find out that he's connected to Blast. Oh my god. So apparently this guy, who hasn't been named yet, we don't even see his face, we just see his raggedy fingernails. He fought Blast 15 years before the current story. So that's somewhere around the time when Blast saved Tatsumaki from that facility. So this was before the Hero Association, before heroes were even a thing. Blast was just going around being a cool guy saving people. And he fought this dude, we don't know why, but I'm assuming it's because Blast was one of the strongest, if not the strongest person on Earth at that point. So the strongest ninja was just looking for other strong guys to take out maybe. It remains to be seen. But I don't know what this means. It says the battle was epic, so it wasn't like a one-sided beatdown from Blast, I assume. Or maybe they're just saving face here. But regardless, Blast beat this guy so bad that he put him in like a coma for 15 years. Damn. And this is just throwing another log onto the Blast hype fire. Because we already found out he took down Elder Centipede by himself. And now we're finding out Blast took down the strongest ninja in history. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and I'm going to say, yeah, he's stronger than Flashy Flash, because, come on, why not? I think it's kind of implied that he is, or at the minimum, he isn't equal to Flashy Flash. So I'm assuming that this guy could possibly be above Dragon in strength. Maybe. I'm saying like high Dragon at the minimum, but if he gave Blast an epic fight, it's likely he might be above Dragon. It remains to be seen, this is just all hypothetical, but wow, this is amazing. And then we're finding out what they want. And apparently they want to assassinate Flashy Flash. We already assumed that it was going there, because no one likes Flashy Flash. They want him dead because he's their greatest enemy. But they also want to publicly execute the quote-unquote aging Blast. We know that Blast is kind of old. Not old, but at the minimum he's got to be in his 40s. You know, because like I said, 15 years ago he was saving Tatsumaki. And when we saw him in the flashback, he already looked like he was like in his 20s, or at least was an adult of some form. So he's got to be like in his 40s or something at the minimum. And I think this is further evidence that we're going to see Blast in this arc, or soon, just sooner rather than later, because it's the second time that major light has been shed on Blast since the Monster Association arc has ended. Like I said, the first time we saw him, I mean literally the first time we actually saw Blast was in the flashback with Tatsumaki. And now this is happening where they're stating that they want to publicly execute him. So this might be tying into what my original theory around Blast was, and that I think he might become the leader of the Neo Heroes or something like that. And I think this all is going towards the big war. I don't think the war is changing, but I think there's just been another big party added to this. So at least I originally thought it was going to be the Hero Association versus the Neo Heroes. But now it might be this crazy three-way war between the ninjas, the Neo Heroes, and the Hero Association. And if that comes to fruition, oh my god, that would be amazing. That's like One Piece level stuff, easily. So after that, we're finding out that they just want to get Flashy Flash out of the picture immediately, and they're going to use Sonic to bait him out. And that's exactly what Sonic does. He baits Flashy Flash out some way. It just happens off panel. And they meet up. And this is the first time that they're actually talking by themselves, other than when they originally met each other in the previous chapter. And we're seeing that, like, Flashy Flash is kind of reserved here. He's not... It doesn't seem like he has ill will towards Sonic. Maybe he still has some of those dwindling feelings for him left that he originally had. Like, maybe he still does care for him somewhat. Because when Sonic's like, let's duel, I challenge you to a duel, he's like, do you really want to do this? Even if it means throwing away your life that you almost lost back then? So then we come to the end of the chapter with Saitama talking to Genos, and this might be some character development to Saitama here, because, first of all, by himself on his own whim, he's saying, I'm going to pay a visit to Sonic. So again, he is naming Sonic. Like, just, he knows Sonic, he remembers his name. He's letting everyone know that he knows that. And he actually went out of his way to go into one of his cardboard boxes that he has and pulled out a letter that he received from Sonic. That's also hilarious, that Sonic has been sending him multiple letters and whatnot. Very much like Sonic. But then we're finding out that just Saitama wants to take his sword and give it to Flashy Flash. So that's kind of tying up that whole storyline that happened at the beginning of this quote-unquote ninja arc, I guess you could call it. Because remember, Saitama broke the sword back in the Hero Association arc when they were trapped underground. But then we see that, Flashy Flash, he originally went out to find Saitama because he wanted to train him, of course, but also because he broke his sword. And he was trying to use that as leverage to get Saitama to do what he wanted. But I think it's hilarious how, Genesis is like, I'll take it by force. And he's like, no, that's not very nice. I'll just fight him, and when he comes at me, I'll take it that way. So it's like, disguise is self-defense. That's very educational. I must write it down. So that's pretty much the end of the chapter, and oh my god, this was amazing. Truly amazing. I had such a good time with this one, and I hope you did too. So if you liked the video, please give it a like, and let me know what you think about all of this, the Ninja Village, the leader, Blast, all of it, in the comments, please. And the next chapter review is going to be up later. It's going to be Sonic vs. Flashy Flash, Chapter 116, so look out for that, and I'll see you in there. I also have a Patreon. It gives you access to a weekly Q&A video that I do every week, and if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, guys. I'll see you in the next review.